wasn't as if we weren't warned. The brutal storm Katrina unleashed its ferociousness on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and parts of Louisiana and Alabama early in the morning of August the 29th. In the aftermath, more than 1.3 million homes and businesses in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama were without electricity. The devastation was epic. It was nature at its worst.
It's important for everybody out there to understand that this storm has put a face on disaster. Everybody who comes into one of our offices is going to have a story.
In Mississippi, streets and homes were flooded as far as 6 miles inland, and the eastbound lanes of Interstate 10 between Gulfport and Biloxi were impassable because of storm debris. Lives were lost. Buildings vanished. Thousands fled, leaving their homes, their hopes, and livelihoods behind, putting their future on hold.
Originally, we were seeing a whole lot of people were coming in for unemployment, and that's tapered down. And now we're doing what I feel to be a real good job at placing people in jobs. And the interesting thing is that some people could go from flipping hamburgers and walk in the trailer and come out with a $20 an hour job.
Afterwards, the task of recovery was seemingly overwhelming. Governor Haley Barbour stepped into the breach and determined that the citizens of Mississippi would prevail. We will recover, we will restore, we will rebuild, and then we will renew. In many ways, the savage disaster brought out the best in Mississippi's state government.
It's kind of like what the governor stated in his news conference, the spirit of Mississippi and the generosity of our neighbors. We had help from Florida, from a myriad of other states.
As part of Governor Haley Barbour's statewide task force, the Mississippi Department of Employment Security, or MDES, was one of the lead agencies in the initial recovery efforts. The devastation caused by Hurricane Katrina brought to bear the full force of MDES, to include its executive and senior management, its frontline staff in all 82 counties, and its resources. MDES served along with the Office of the Governor and the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency as one of the lead state agencies in a collaborative effort to bring relief, assistance, and compassion to the lives of Mississippians who were affected directly by the destruction of the storm.
I was traveling with some of the people from Mississippi Power Company when they got the call that the storm was predicted to come in at a Category 5 hurricane. It was at that point in time that I began, like they did, to shift my focus to what are we going to do if the damage is severe on the coast, and how will we respond? So over the weekend, I was thinking what we needed to do to get in place, because I knew that the governor would need us to be one of the first response agencies, just like MEMA. The Tuesday following the storm, I struck out in my car to check on our offices, made it as far as Pascagoula and Gulfport and Biloxi, and realized of those 3 offices, we only had one that was operational, or at least that's the way it looked, peering in through a very dark window. So that became the next piece of the puzzle. How do we get a place where we can open the doors? It's been a great uphill battle, but I think that our staff has responded magnificently.
Restoration of key services was paramount in the early hours of the MDES strategic plan.
We knew that we had a major disaster on our hand, and we were going to have to respond to it as quickly as possible to pay the unemployment benefits, the disaster unemployment benefits down there as timely as possible. We had to get a handle on our staffing there because they were evacuated. They had damage to their own homes. So we were able to account for them very quickly. But knowing that that staff was not sufficient enough to handle this disaster, we had to start seeking help from around our state.
For weeks following the hurricane's assault, a recovery and restoration meeting was held every day at MDES headquarters. Attending the meeting were the executive and senior management team who were charged with finding solutions to a vast number of issues that included getting vital disaster assistance benefits to those in need, restructuring a network of service centers, wind job centers, whose staff are responsible for the triaging of those requiring assistance and managing the different funding resources from the various federal grants that were available. To date, all of the comprehensive WIN Job Centers, the portal for services to our customers, are operational. This has been accomplished through the reestablishment of the permanent WIN Job Center locations, or by one of 9 mobile WIN Job Centers that were deployed to the Gulf Coast on Sunday, September 11, 2005. In some areas, executive and senior management of MDES were on the ground in the Gulf Coast to ensure orderly resumption of services for those displaced or jobless by the catastrophe.
We pulled out of Jackson on the 11th of September, Sunday afternoon, with a convoy of about 25 units, police escort, and we set up on the Gulf Coast that evening. With the help of the National Guard, they took us straight into Ground Zero, and we had 7 locations up and ready for service exactly 2 weeks after the hurricane hit at 8 a.m. on Monday morning the 12th. And it was just in time. I was in Gulfport, and we had 3 customers at 6:30 a.m.
WIN Job Center hours were extended and opened from 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night. During the recovery period, the WIN Job Centers on the coast were open 7 days a week. 3 call centers with a toll-free telephone number were established to triage Mississippians as well as other evacuees from neighboring states to the services available from MDES and the WIN in Mississippi partners and professionals.
Another important finding that we had during this period of time was people wanted to know how long were we going to be on the coast to help. Interestingly, we were on the coast before the storm occurred, and we made it clear to them that we were going to be there well after the storm occurred. We were there for the long term. We weren't one of those agencies that was coming in and leaving. We were there for the long term.
People who were working for companies and businesses paid unemployment taxes, and others who were self-employed and whose businesses were closed as a direct result of Katrina qualified for disaster unemployment assistance. Governor Barbour issued an executive order setting those benefits at the maximum level of $210 a week for everyone in order that the claims processing could be handled as swiftly as possible. The executive order also waived the 1-week waiting period for all claims during the disaster assistance period. The executive staff of MDES, along with the MDES Office of Grants Management, was in daily conferences with the United States Department of Labor and other federal entities to identify and capture all funding streams available to our state for relief and restoration of benefits and job opportunities. Included in this initiative is a national emergency grant of over $50 million that helped more than 100,000 Mississippi residents begin the recovery process, with money for jobs to help clean up and rebuild infrastructures within the stricken areas. To assist in getting vital information out to those who have been affected by Katrina, public information was disseminated through unpaid broadcasts donated by statewide media companies. Beginning Monday, September the 19th, 2005, a series of paid, leveraged media flights with several 100,000-watt Clear Channel radio networks, including Mississippi Public Broadcasting, began airing announcements with pertinent information regarding resources and assistance. Was your business or company affected by the recent disaster? As an employer, do you need to find qualified workers or assistance with posting your job openings? Additional public service announcements were produced and aired on the above-mentioned outlets as new and relevant information became available. During the first 4 months of the recovery and restoration period, members of MDES executive and senior management were featured in live, on-air broadcasts from MPB, as well as on private sector broadcast networks. MDES was assisted by several states with line personnel and staging equipment to staff the mobile WIN Job Centers and the call centers. Unemployment insurance professionals from Florida, Kentucky, and Wisconsin contributed staff and materials to this effort.
Once we got our mobile units set up, we were faced with the task of, we knew we were going to have at least 17,000 casino employees unemployed, so our main concentration the first few days was just dealing with the sheer numbers of the unemployed, getting those applications, the claims applications filed, and getting those folks into the system so we could start providing some financial assistance to them, that bridge.
MDES worked closely with the 4 local workforce investment areas, along with the local workforce investment area boards, and local elected officials boards to ensure that anyone needing assistance did not go unheard or unheeded. As MDES continued through the renewal stage, what counted most were the results the agency was able to accomplish. By the last week in December, 158,000 claims had been taken. Over 10,000 job placements had been made. Call centers, whose incoming calls at one time peaked at over 49,000 a day, were handling less than 100 a day by the end of December 2005. MDES remains relentless in its pledge to bring assistance and relief to all of those whose lives were shattered by this horrific peril.
Right after the storm, we lived in my front yard in a tent for 3 weeks because we were afraid that the house would cave in the back. Now I've lost my job due to lack of work where I was previously employed, and my first thought was to come to the Biloxi Wind Job Center so they could help me find a job.
And MDES will continue to prevail in every aspect to help our state's citizens, its businesses, and communities emerge in triumph.
Due to Hurricane Katrina, I was out of work for a while, so my supervisor asked that I should come down here and apply for unemployment. So he said, go back to September the 4th up until the present time. Also, he informed me with some good news to come back to work Monday, which would be the 7th. People here at the job center have been very helpful. They helped me with my paperwork to fill it out, tell me how to fill it out so I could find everything. And all the people that are inside are very kind. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else but on the coast. I've been here 30 years, and I'll be here hoping for the next 30 years.